On May 24, 2016, the Redlands Charitable Resource Coalition in Redlands, California, sponsored an information meeting dealing with putting homeless people to work by cleaning the off-ramps that lead from the freeways to our city. The guest speaker was Sal Moretti, the solid waste superintendent for the city of Bakersfield, California. Mr. Moretti works with the Bakersfield Homeless Center, which provides laborers who work with Caltrans to clean the freeways that go through Bakersfield. Freeway cleanup was formerly done largely by inmates from the local Bakersfield prisons, but budget cuts eliminated that program. The Bakersfield program has enabled numerous homeless people and their families to get off the streets. Mr. Moretti was introduced to those attending this information meeting by Dr. Craig Turley, Director of the Blessing Center and the Redlands Charitable Resource Coalition.
Waste graduated University of Missouri, St. Louis. He's captain in the Armed Forces, served 7 years. Recycling manager for the city of Albuquerque as well, 7 years. 16 years in Bakersfield. He's with the Jobs Program and recently appointed the co-chair of the Kern County Homeless Coalition. And I'm even more impressed with the fact that he presented this model at Harvard University as a working model of how to coordinate enterprise that's going to help homeless people, help the city, and help Caltrans. It's a win-win-win. We all benefit from this program. Hopefully, we'll pick up on it in Redlands as well as, I mean, you guys from Yucaipa are amazing. You got everybody from Yucaipa down here. So hopefully that'll be a little bit of leverage to us folks in Redlands get off the stage and get something done. So with that being said, let's introduce again Mr. Moretti, Sal Moretti from Bakersfield. Let's give him a real hand of applause.
I have a badge. I have a tag from my trip to Harvard that says faculty at Harvard University. And you know, I show that to people all the time. So, you know, illusion is great. Sometimes, you know, I just enjoy it. I have a coffee cup too. I didn't get the sweatshirt because Bakersfield never gets very hot, very cold. This is a long title for our presentation. Come be part of the crew is the better short version. That's become the slogan in Bakersfield for our program. As Craig was saying, I'm a trash collector. That's what I'm, solid waste superintendent. We kind of fell into this program. It was just been a real joy. It's changed lives for a whole lot of people, including me in Bakersfield. It's helped me to see things differently that I might not have seen before. And so yeah, I'm just a trash collector, but this program has been just a real joy for us to kind of learn from. There are supposed to be some other people here today. Am I blocking your view?
Yeah.
Which way do I go?
There you
go.
go.
Oh, wow. Perfect. So, there are supposed to be some other people here today. The lady from the homeless center, she got real sick yesterday, so she's not going to make it. And then Jay from Caltrans isn't going to make it. Just disappointing because I think Jay is a cheerleader for this program. And you guys at Caltrans, you'd be very impressed by how working together in the community has really helped the image of Caltrans in our local community. So there's a lot of benefits that we're going to talk about here, and it's not just putting homeless people to work. And because some people aren't here to do the presentation, every once in a while I'm going to have to refer to my notes as opposed to just talking. But for those of you who haven't been to Bakersfield, can we have a show of hands? Who's been to Bakersfield?
I've been to Bakersfield.
Who was going to Bakersfield as opposed to driving through? Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, we're a very conservative community. We're very proud of our affiliation with Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. You know, we're an oil town. You know, we've got a lot of oil fields out there. We have a lot of agriculture out there. That's Bakersfield, very conservative. So it's not like Bakersfield to come up with some great idea that the rest of the world is going to follow. It's more like us to maybe follow behind. But in this case, you know, we had a serious problem and we had to figure some things out. Basically, Caltrans had, you guys remember the budget season a few years ago where there was no money left, and you might remember the prison realignment. I don't know how it might have affected you here, but in Bakersfield, prison realignment, and we have a lot of jails in Bakersfield, And the budget caused Caltrans to have no money and no resources, no plan to pick up litter on the freeways. So for 2 years, litter just kept piling up, and it was so frustrating for the community because Bakersfield, we don't have the authority, the city of Bakersfield does not have the authority to go out there on a freeway and start picking up litter. You guys have rules, you have safety issues, so litter on the freeway, it might be a bane to Bakersfield, it might make us look bad, but we had no control over that issue. And as a trash collector, this is how it connects to putting homeless people to work. As a trash collector, it was really a reflection on us. We had a Keep Bakersfield Beautiful committee that was responsible, that was within Solid Waste Division, that was a bunch of volunteers and other leaders, and we were always trying to, figure out solutions to litter to make Bakersfield a better place and a more beautiful place, to get rid of some of those perceptions that people might have. But you would drive through and you would see litter and you were like, well, Bakersfield, it's a very dirty town. So it became a real issue for us. We had a mayor, Mayor Harvey Hall, he's still the mayor, who took the leadership on this and just started saying, I'm going to get some litter picked up on the freeways. He put together some volunteer crews and he would go out there and do the ramps, but he could not do the main line, and so the city continued to look bad. Our committee put together an ad hoc committee trying to deal with this, and we sat there with Caltrans for a long time trying to figure out solutions, and we were getting nowhere. It kind of got to the point where our COG, our current COG guy, you guys have a COG here locally, our COG is called Kern COG, and the director of Kern COG, he was a veteran of the Iraq War, and he was taking a visitor to the military cemetery down not too far from Bakersfield, and it was like, oh my God, this looks just like Iraq. And this I can't believe that the lady who put together my PowerPoint presentation, Jessica, actually found this, but that is more toward Baghdad, and that is Bakersfield. That was embarrassing, very frustrating. And by the way, this would be a homeless camp. Actually, that litter, it connects to this conversation now. It's actually a homeless camp right on the side of the freeway. So we had a problem, and we were taking a huge hit. The media was mad, the public was mad, and we kept scratching our heads trying to find a solution. Well, we had a template for it, and as we sat there with Caltrans and trying to come up with solutions, and they kept saying, we can't get prisoners, the prisoners can't go out there anymore, we don't have money. We said, we had done something at our green waste facility. Again, trash collector, we run a green waste recycling facility, and at our green waste recycling facility, we have to sort out the contamination that's in the green cart. And we had some different contracts with some different temporary agencies, never really got that good of a work, and had some issues with workers' comp that we didn't want to be messing with. So I had, back many years ago when I was in the city of Albuquerque, I had a real small contract with the homeless center there to do sorting of our recyclables. So I kind of went back to my bosses, and they were supportive of this and said, hey, let's do something like that here. So our first experience in Bakersfield with hiring the homeless had to do with our green waste facility and sorting out contamination, and you can see them here working it. This is exactly what it looks like. You got stuff that comes in the green cart, comes across. Sometimes people put their trash in there. We got to clean that up before we can make compost out of it. And that was our experience. So when Caltrans said they couldn't do anything, we said, hey, we got a template in place already, and it's not going to cost you more than you're already paying for guards. I mean, think about it. What Caltrans does, they go back to the state prison system and they say, find me some parolees, find me some guys that are in jail, give me a work release crew, and let's go put them out there. And that's free. It seems like it's free, and it seems like it's a great idea. But when those inmates are done cleaning up litter on the side of the freeway, they go back into jail and nothing comes of that. And meanwhile, the money spent on guards is just as much as you're going to spend on a minimum wage crew picking up litter. So that was the switch right there. We were able to go back to Caltrans and say, the money you have that you're spending on inmates and inmate supervisors, guards, use that same amount of money and let us put a crew out there from the homeless center. And they were like, absolutely not, we're never going to do that. That's crazy. Those guys, we've seen those homeless guys, and they're not ready for a job. So, but it took a while, but they really came along, especially since we had a program in place that was working. We were able to show them that they weren't going to be incurring this safety hazard on the highway. They were going to be incurring good workers. And our Caltrans guys are absolutely crazy about these crews. they're getting the work done, the low-level work done, picking up litter, maybe digging up a few tumbleweeds, and they're doing it, they're not displacing any Caltrans workers. You guys know how hard it is to get new people out there. They're doing the work that probably the inmates or maybe the things that aren't getting done. And so there's no displacement. This is not a displacement program. The city would never have hired green waste city workers to do green waste sorting, because that's a huge liability, not a huge liability, a huge unfunded pensions and all that the city is trying so hard not to hire new people. And so they would never have, we had never used city workers. Caltrans wouldn't be using their workers for some of this work. If they are using their workers for some of this work, that means the Caltrans guys aren't fixing sprinkler systems and things like that that are also in need of repair out there. It was really the lowest level work. Caltrans was able to do a delegated maintenance agreement with the city. The city did a contract with the homeless center, and all of a sudden we had ourselves a program. And the dollar figure was, it was $252,000. So you can do a lot of money with $252,000, and we got our freeways cleaned with $250,000. We actually got another kick in from our current cog, the guy from Iraq who had complained about how it looked like Iraq. He ran the current cog, and he was able to find some call box money, and he heard what we were trying to do, and he said, I got money for you too. So first year he gave us $100,000. Now he's giving us $150,000 every year, and there's no push to change that because the freeways look good, the money is available for this. They were going to spend that money anyway, and now we're putting homeless people to work. It's just been a very positive experience. Around this time I got to go and look at the notes. Excuse me. Because the reason I'm going to be switching over here is because so we started our program. Once we got all the approvals and got the agreements in place and all that, we got the agreement signed by the city council on May 1st. The reason why the city got involved in it is because no one else would take leadership. Everybody was afraid of it, but we had experience, and I'm looking at the city council members because one might say, why didn't the Caltrans just go straight to the homeless center? But they were very nervous about that, and they were not nervous about having a delegated maintenance agreement with the city. And in fact, we already had a delegated maintenance agreement with Caltrans to do street sweeping and things like that, so it was really an easy connection. So at that point, the Caltrans was comfortable doing an agreement with us. We already had an agreement with the homeless center, so it kind of fit together like that very well. But then our next challenge was going to Lewis Gill, the director of the Bakersfield Homeless Center, and telling him that we were going to start a jobs program and we were going to need some more people. And Lewis's response was, from the very beginning, Lewis's response was, what? We're a homeless center. We do not, our job is sheltering. Putting on the other hat, this is the Lewis portion of the presentation, so just so you know. But Lewis's comments were, we're a shelter. What do we care about putting people to work? Our job is to put people and make a bed available for people. And his staff kept bugging him and saying, you're missing the point here. These people can't move forward in their life. Just getting a shelter, just getting a bed, does not help that person to move forward. The point is you have to do more than that to give them a real chance for a future. And so starting with the green waste facility, they started seeing the results. And those results were amazing. They would talk about how the crew members that were on these different crews, they would walk different. And how that would you could just look at the facility, the people that were staying at the shelter, and how you could tell which ones had a job because they had their heads up, they were happy. Their kids would wave to them when they went to work in the morning, and there was just a real positive energy that was changing their lives. So Lewis Lewis at first was very much against that, but as he realized that was a necessary step, it changed how he looked at employment as a part of the homelessness solution. And he would say that, if you talk to a homeless person, they're going to say, you're going to ask them, what do you need? They're going to say, well, I need a home. The other thing they're going to say is they need a job. I would argue that because I'm a little biased on this, I would argue that the job is actually more important than the home, because with the job, you can afford the home. So the idea of the funny thing about HUD, I'm scrambling around a little bit right now, but I think I'm all right. The funny thing about HUD is they're totally focused on HUD dollars, on housing. And that's good. It makes perfect sense for HUD to have a housing first focus. But there's only so many dollars available in HUD, and those dollars are shrinking. And for solutions to occur, you're going to have less dollars. You're going to have fewer people being housed. If you take and turn around and take somebody else's money and use it, well, you're way ahead. So in this case, if HUD was able to see this thing, they would see that caltrans money, that city greenway sorting money that we were going to spend anyway, is actually being used to put people into housing. So it's a savings to the whole system. So let's see where I am compared to my slides. So anyway, as Lewis was saying, how is he going to hire people? You know, there's a lot of things that go into that. Background checks, drug screening, transportation. One of his funny lines, you know, as he's looking at his applicants, this is not one of your cream of the crop kind of job applicant programs. These guys do have a history. They're homeless for a reason. So it's important to know that you're not getting the best workers. And one of his favorite lines is, you know, when you're looking at these resumes and these job applications and someone's got possession with intent, he's like, well, who doesn't have that on their resume, possession with intent? So it's kind of a different kind of a job screening that's going on here. Everybody has history. And you got to be able to get past that to see that a person who might have some history still needs that chance. Now, you've got to do a real background check. Some of these people are not ready for employment. Some of them, that's exactly what they need to change their lives. So it's a different kind of a background screening to figure out who can succeed and whether you're going to make a difference or not. So the homeless center has a child care facility, so it's really convenient. The city donated, the city didn't donate, the city sold 3 or 4 vans to the homeless center for $1 each. So these were surplus vehicles that were about to go out of the system. Instead of giving them to the scrap yards, they gave them to the homeless center and they turned them into vehicles. Continuing on with your atypical workforce, wow. That's an interesting history that these people have that they bring to the workforce. One guy had a 24-year prison sentence, and now he's working and he's able to help his daughter. And that's kind of been the story. That's the best part of the story is the individual stories, how it changed people's lives and how they actually are, whatever their problems were, the job has helped them to get housing, helped them to unite with their families again, helped them to deal with their other issues. It's been a real heartwarming program, and this part of the program has just been such a joy to be a part of. So let's see if I can figure out where Lewis is at here. So we're in the business of changing lives with this program, and the city was so happy, and the city and the different partners, it's not just the city's not the only partner. The city was so happy with this program that every time they turned around and needed a labor crew, temporary labor crew or a part-time labor crew, they said, hey, how about the homeless center? So that's been the turnaround. We're not just doing this thing because for whatever motivation. Our motivation is we've got a good workforce, they're doing good work, and it's saving the city money. It's saving money because we had to open up an animal care facility. We needed somebody to clean out all the crap in there, and homeless center said, we'll do it. We needed to go through the trash at the Greenwich facility and all this stinky stuff, and homeless center said, we'll do it. So homeless center's done a great job of saying, you got a job, we got the people. And there is no job that they weren't willing to do. Meanwhile, there's a lot of jobs that we're not willing to do. So good for them to have that kind of attitude and instill that kind of attitude in their people. They talk about the trash and they say, you know, doesn't that trash smell bad? And they say, it smells like money, which shows that they really understand what's going on here. So yeah, now we have crews that are at animal care. We have 2 crews at green waste. We have 4 crews on the freeway. We have private sector. We built a new highway in Bakersfield, and Caltrans doesn't own it yet. So the city's responsible for it. And when they built this highway, they were like, well, we didn't think about maintenance. You know, they just had enough money to build it and put concrete down. So they were like, hey, what are we going to do? And like, okay, so my city manager, who is my friend, is as cheap as can be. So he was like, well, what are you going to do? We're not going to spend more money on this, because he had been so much a believer that this is free to him because Caltrans money, Kerncog money, that he was like, you know what? I want you to clean my highway for free. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's not how it works. You know, it's not that the money is free. You got to find the money somewhere. But we went ahead and took him up on his challenge, this program was very popular with the public, so we put out the word to the private sector, you know, you want to adopt a highway, give us $6,700 for a mile, we'll put your name on a sign, put it on the highway, and we'll use those dollars to put a crew to work. So we got the private sector to participate, and they did. It was amazing how they all wanted to be a part of the crew. And so we got another crew started just without, again, spending city money. So what have I missed? So more recently, the downtown agencies, Downtown Business Association, they were like, you know, we got a lot of litter downtown, and every time we do our big event, there's a bunch of trash all over the place. And so they went out there and found private sector sponsors, and now they have an ambassador program using clients from the homeless center 4 days a week to pick up litter downtown. Again, not costing the city any money. And then finally we have where our homeless encampments are really bad is along the Kern River, which is a dry river. And once again, the lady who loved to ride her bike and walk along that trails was like, I hate it. Homeless camps those guys are slobs. And if you ever notice, they make a mess. So so we put a crew out there. We got a donation for that, and put a crew out there to clean up our riverbank as well. So it's been amazing how the community has supported this program. So over the years, then we're over 200 people. We've had a lot of rehires. Some people have been hired 3 times because they were fired 2 times. Sometimes they go back to their problems. The city has hired 3 of these people for permanent jobs. I'll talk more about that a little bit. And the homeless center staff, it's really 1 full-time job per person, and then it's a little bit of part-time people helping out that. You know, with Lewis Gill's the director of the homeless center, and him and I have we have done this presentation together every once in a while. He makes a mistake here saying, we actually make a little money from this program to pay for our other programs. And I'm like, wait, you're making money off of this? You know, maybe we need to reduce that cost that you're charging the city for this. But the point is, it's helped him in more ways than just having a job program. He's actually been able to pay some of his other bills, especially with funding, HUD funding being reduced in different ways, especially for transitional housing. He needed to find other money for his shelter, and it doesn't bother me that he was able to do that by taking the freeway money or the greenways money and doing that. This is where I get a little bit out of my league. I did get elected to the Kern County Homeless Collaborative. I'm a co-chair, but I'm still trying to learn, because that's a whole other language that HUD uses, and frankly it gets over my head every so often. But let me try to explain how I understand this works. So if you have the people that are working, the crew members that have been on the crew and those that have left and got other jobs, they have families too. So we're not just talking about a homeless person, we're talking about their family. And we've been able to get about 350 plus of those into housing for a relatively small amount of money. Lewis's figure here is $1408 of rapid rehousing, which is probably about 3 months of rent in some of the low-income housing. You get the person into housing, and at that point, because they're working now, they can pay their own rent. And even if they're not paying all of their rent, they're paying some of their rent, which is again reducing the amount of HUD, Section 8, or permanent supportive housing funds that need to be available. So when our housing authority shows the numbers on utilization, we come out 130%. I said, how are we doing so? And that's a good number. 130 is a good number. How are we doing so good? And he says, because these guys are making more money than they were making before, than they need to make to qualify. They're paying more rent. That's stretching our HUD dollars out that much farther. So, and I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert on that, but it's been pretty amazing how we're actually stretching out HUD dollars by having this program. I think I got everything that Lewis was going to talk about. I would say that's one of the criticisms I would have of the program.
Has there been any discussion about capping the amount of time going forward then?
No.
That people can work in the program?
No, we met with the homeless center and about different issues of the program. And Lewis is coming, why don't we fire the person? And then, so there's the other side of this thing is we never established that it was a temporary job, and I think that he doesn't want to fire them just because they've been there too long. I think the better thing would be for us to create opportunities. That way, it wouldn't be a pressure, you have to leave. It would be, you get to leave, here's your opportunity.
What about an experimental program that new people who are hired come in with that agreement that it's going to last for 2 years? Would that be a worthwhile experiment?
Yeah, it's a good conversation to have. I mean, if we were meeting and trying to improve the program, that would be a big part of it right there.
Yeah.
We want these people to go on to the next job because there are so many people that are below, that are in the river bank or in the shelter that need the next opportunity. You had your...
I have a few, just for warning you. And that's might help address that. But I do the worker program in Ukaipa, and I'm so glad you guys are here. This is phenomenal. But to help get them moving from your program into something better, perhaps this might help cover that, without having to have like stipulation of you have set amount of time. If I found that once my homeless people start working in my program, they automatically want more. And I think you probably have seen that also. And if we can give them all of the resources and not just one spoke or two spokes of the wheel, then I think that fully enables them to be able to then go out and get their Class B or go out and interview for an entirely different job based on maybe some skill sets they already had, but they don't believe that they can do anymore. Things like communication. I found that my people have a really hard time talking to other adults in an appropriate manner because they've lost that skill set. Mental health is a big thing. You had that percentage on your board. And if we have resources to cover that, now that they're making money, do you guys have a money management program that goes along with your work program?
Did I tell you I was just a trash collector?
We're giving them money now.
Oh, come on, Sal.
The guy got his paycheck, went, got drunk and beat his woman, right?
Well,
we need to have that resource, that spoke.
I like everything you're saying. Working with the homeless center, Lewis isn't here right now, so I'm going to throw him under the bus. Shelters are very barely funded facilities, and they have so many challenges that go on every day. And my observation of how a shelter runs is it's crisis management every day. So do they get to those proactive things? In my observation, no, and I wish they would. I think you're absolutely right. That's part of what we should be doing.
I mean, because we've already got the motivated people. They're motivated enough to get us through, because not all the homeless are going to want to work in a work program. I found that also. But the ones that do want to come work in a program, they have something that the other ones don't have. They innately have that drive or that desire or that belief inside or that hope.
It's the next part of the program, not just getting a job. Get them to make that job their stepping stone to really independent life where they're on their own and not a part of the
Class B,
crew.
they have to have all these other skill sets, or just offering them a Class B or a timeline that says you got to be out by this date, but we've given them no other skill sets to achieve that.
Completely agree. You were going to ask a question?
Yeah, so with the kind of the logistics side of this, your agreement with Caltrans, so do they just kind of give you the authority to do the cleanup on the freeways? And
No.
like,
We're just a middle person. Caltrans, we just were the vehicle to make the contract happen. And we really have no purpose out there in the freeways. That's a Caltrans area, it's their jurisdiction. We don't tell them what to do, they know what to do. And the work crew that comes there comes from the homeless center. We're just kind of a financial intermediary just to get the program started, but since it's gone so well, no one's trying to change anything when it comes to that. We have no role out there. We don't tell them what to do, and the Caltrans workers, the supervisor, gives them their assignments.
Okay.
We do not give them assignments.
So the homeless center recruits and hires, and then Caltrans supervises the actual like work days and things like that?
And you guys have all kinds of rules. You've got to have an attenuator truck there behind them and all that. So you guys establish all the safety requirements, and we don't interfere with that at all. No, I'm sorry. So,
Perhaps if the program were to partner with a temp agency, I know my experience with temp agencies is that you start out on a temporary job, and then the company that you're working for then will move you into a full-time position, perhaps if the program partnered with some national and or regional temp agency to move those folks that are at the 2-year mark into a different program to get them a temporary job, to move them to a permanent job, that would sort of open up the door for them to move in a direction that they might want to.
I think that as, based on several comments, I think that as we talk to them, I mean, there's different pieces, organizations. I'm not the homeless center. I found that I don't get to tell them how to run their jobs program. But I could, in the contract renegotiation that comes up, say these are the things we're looking for from the program. Because right now, what I was saying earlier, my observation is crisis management drives daily activities. They're not being proactive, they're being reactive. The program's great, but let's do the next thing.
I think this gentleman.
Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. The delegated agreement, that's a written agreement.
Yes.
Is that a public record?
Yeah.
So we could get a hold of that.
Send
And
it to you.
that's a delegated agreement between the homeless center, the city, and Caltrans.
It's agreement between Caltrans and the city.
Yeah, because that would be a
Send me an email,
real
I'll send it to
starting
you.
point. For
Well,
sure. Thank you, Sal.
If you can't get Caltrans to participate, go back to your own city government. Sorry about that.
No, we
And
love
look at-
our city government.
Look at your opportunities. Well, look at money you're spending for temporaries. Look at money you're spending for seasonal work and see what opportunities are there. Because, you know, it's not just Caltrans money. We're using city money. City departments are saying we want the crews to come and work and do, the water department needs a sump cleaned out. Parks department needed some special seasonal work done. Code enforcement needed help cleaning up homeless encampments. So it became something that even city agencies were finding ways to get work done. You can't get a new city worker in our budget climate. We cannot get new people. In fact, we're still dealing with Bakersfield being an oil community. Sales taxes and property taxes are just hurting right now. Our revenues are way down. We can't hire a new worker right now, but there's still work to be done. So,
You got no water for the almond trees, do you?
and no water for the almond trees either.
And the price of almonds are going through the roof.
That's a whole nother
And almond butter
conversation.
makes me mad.
Can you talk a little bit about supervision for these crews?
Well, that was part of what I thought worked really well. Talking about job skills training. I think that the homeless center done a great job of finding that most responsible, mature, licensed, driver's licensed person and said, hey, we're going to give you 25 cents an hour more, you're going to be the lead. And because the crews, I got to say, I'm very impressed by the cohesion of the crews. I mean, they like each other, they work together. There's a lot of sense of community or family that goes with that. I went to one of the crews the other day, I was talking to them and like, oh, you guys are so close to each other. So to some degree, there's a familiarity. There's the lead person gets paid 25 cents an hour more, and it's pretty easy to supervise. And I think that when they do have a problem, they take it back to the center and say, hey, this guy's not working out.
So no city supervision, no...
No. And Caltrans, there's no city supervision. We don't supervise the employees. We supervise the work being done. And it's the same with Caltrans on the freeways. So it's not like if someone screws up, I'm going to say, I'm going to write you up. All I'm going to do is say, hey, Barb or Lewis, don't have that person come back or deal with that person.
Well, Sal, real quickly, the interest level you see in the room here, what would you say would be next steps, action steps on our part for these two communities, you kind of in Redlands, to actually move forward with something that might be feasible and effective and sustainable?
Well, I would say the next step is find money. Find money that you might be spending on some contracts. Work with your Caltrans guys, see how they're getting litter picked up on the freeways, because they are spending money to clean up litter on the freeways. And just kind of look for money, because I don't think this program can happen without money. But they're interesting, and if I had more time, I'd be searching for more grants, because there are some ETR, job training money out there, grants at the federal level, and there are some different places where there might be some opportunities.
Yeah, our city will do like a matching fund, I'm sure. Up to $250,000.
Oh, they have money. No, that's not a matching fund. They already are spending money.
Yeah,
They're
save
just not
money.
thinking about it. We're just not thinking about it like that. It's
Yeah.
not like it requires more money, because that's not going to happen. Find money that's there. I would go, when I retire next year and become a consultant. I one of the jobs that I would really love to do is I would go to Caltrans, because that's a government agency. They can be told by Governor Brown, this is how you'll spend that money, and it's not like they're wasting. They're not like they're doing something wrong. It's just getting the focus to be redirected. Why hire a guard to supervise an inmate crew? Now that guard is going to be an unfunded pension liability. You know how that goes. Those inmates are going to go back into jail. There's not really a benefit from hiring an inmate crew to go out and clean up litter. And most of the communities, most of the Caltrans districts do it that way, if I understand correctly. So I would go to Caltrans first and say, we need to redirect that money. You're not going to lose any quality. You're not going to not get work done, but we're going to do this thing differently. Now, interestingly enough, Caltrans is actually talking about this right now. We're actually meeting with them. The guy from the state Caltrans office, the Adopt a Highway guy, I don't know if you guys know Trent Manning, but Trent is actually putting together a program using veterans, and it's the same concept. It's the idea of getting veterans that need a job and getting them to work on it.
So contacts at Caltrans is very important, as opposed to calling and getting voicemail. I mean, could you give us some of those contacts?
Trent Manning. I'd start right there. I would also go to your district superintendent. For us, it was John Liu. He was the M&O guy. At District 6, this is District 8. I mean, there's an M&O superintendent who's paying money right now to get litter picked up.
And they probably have an expense item for that they can tell you roughly if they will tell you what they're spending, so you have budget someplace to start.
The veterans program that he's talking about, he gave me a number, $500,000 for a crew, and I'm like, oh my God, how many homeless people or veterans could you put to work instead of inmates with $500,000? For us, 252. We're thrilled with that. That's a great. We're happy. We're not touching that.
What's the population of Bakersfield?
About 350,000.
So so we're only what?
We have time for one more question. So if you want to ask that question, we said 1:30. Want to be prompt.
Oh, okay. I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to say I sit on the board of the Interagency to End Homelessness for San Bernardino County, where Supervisor Joseph Gonzalez is our chair. We have Supervisor James Ramos and city officials and mayors. We might want to start there with bringing this idea to the group, because they're really active with trying to end homelessness in San Bernardino County, and we're trying as a county-wide, not just city by city, because if you do something great in your city, you want to come to your city to do it. So we're trying to do it collaboratively so that we're all working together for the same goal. So I can give you my business card, and then maybe when the next meeting comes, that's something that we can talk about as a county trying to bring something to our cities to. And I speak because I'm the homeless program manager for San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools, and I cover the entire county, making sure school districts follow laws for homeless youth. So this is really important. And the other thing I was going to say real quick is that we have shelters in our county already that are doing wraparound services, not just housing people, but they're doing wraparound services with making them go to school, look for jobs, or doing job training. They're just not staying there and leaving for the day. So we have some agencies that are already in place. So rather than cities reinvent the wheel, we need to collaborate and see what's already happening in our county and work together.
The other thing, just to close, I said find money. The other thing that we did is we found work. We had something that wasn't being done. The litter on the freeways was not being picked up, and it was embarrassing to us. There was something that needed to be done. So look in your community, whatever it might be, whether it's cleaning up homeless encampments or picking up litter or animal care. If there's something that needs to be done,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.